Hello and welcome to our special coverage, Namaste Obama. This on a Sunday when India and the United States have achieved a major breakthrough over the issues that have been hampering the implementation of a landmark civil nuclear deal between the two countries for almost a decade now. While all the details are yet to trickle in, Narendra Modi and Barack Obama have held a joint press interaction following delegation-level discussions this afternoon. The US President has said deepening ties with India will remain a top foreign policy priority for his administration. He says, we are going to be strong and reliable partners for the people of India and Afghanistan. India and America are natural partners. We've made substantive progress, is how the US President put it. Today we've achieved a breakthrough in understanding on two issues that have held us up in the past on the civil nuclear cooperation. We are now committed to its full implementation. Mr. Modi on his part added that the US President assured him of strong US efforts in India's attempt to become a full membership of the four multilateral export regimes at the earliest.
Today's media interaction. We will begin with
terrorism remains a principal global threat. It is taking on a new character even as existing challenges persist. We agreed that we need a comprehensive global strategy and approach to combat with it. There should be no distinction between terrorist groups. Every country must fulfill its commitment to eliminate terrorist safe havens and bring terrorists to justice. Our two countries will deepen our bilateral security cooperation against terrorist groups, and we will further enhance our counter-terrorism capabilities, including in the area of technology.
I was proud to welcome you to the White House last fall. Your reputation preceded you. As many of you know, in New York, the Prime Minister appeared in Madison Square Garden and was greeted like a Bollywood star. And it was, I think, a signal of the deep friendship between our peoples as well as our close ties that we are working to expand even further. What I'm very excited about is given the Prime Minister's energy and ambition for his country and lifting people out of poverty and moving forward and on the reform agenda that he's put forward, that affection can then be translated into very specific actions, and we're seeing that reflected here today. He's right, though, we can't tell you everything that we talked about. Although I will share one thing, and that is we compared how much sleep each of us is getting. And it turns out that Modi is getting even less sleep than me. But, of course, that's because he's still new. After you've been doing this for about 6 years, maybe he'll be able to get an extra hour. All right? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I reiterated and reiterate to the Indian people today that we support a reformed UN Security Council that includes India as a permanent member. At the same time, we see India playing a greater role in ensuring international security and peace and meeting shared challenges. As a leading contributor to UN peacekeeping missions for many years, India can help the world do even more to protect citizens in conflict zones. We welcome India's leadership.
Okay, let's go straight to our panel, introduce our guests this evening. Seshadri Chari is with us of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Appreciate your joining us. Ajay Shukla with the Business Standard and Defense and Strategic Affairs editor there. And also with us, Seema Siroi of the Gateway House, Washington-based analyst and journalist. Sanjay Puri of the US-India Political Action Committee is with us. And Samir Saran of the Observer Research Foundation is with us. Appreciate all of you joining us. We'll be joined by several more guests through the evening as we look back at what many will believe has been yet another important landmark day in the Indo-US equation. And that's where I want to start, because Mr. Chari, there is this game of credit that politicians like to play. Maybe journalists like to play it as well. Who deserves credit that we finally reached where we have where the US President and the Indian Prime Minister, with a measure of conviction, can say that this is a durable partnership, we are a natural alliance. Are you going to give credit to Narasimha Rao, who opened the window in a sense to the United States, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who tiptoed his way into the civil nuclear deal, Manmohan Singh, who really took it to another level, or to Narendra Modi?
Why don't you go back to Mrs. Indira Gandhi?
I'm not going to go back to Indira Gandhi because then that might bring back 1971
Yes.
and the fact that the US
first
at
nuclear-
the time
the first
had a rather
nuclear-
different image of India. I will give Ms. Gandhi credit if
The
we had
first
signed a
nuclear-
similar deal with the Russians.
No, the
but
first
not
nuclear
necessarily
test.
with the
The
Americans.
first nuclear test conducted was under Indira Gandhi.
Yes, but-
so begin from there.
No, I'm
See,
going to
the-
begin.
the
I'm going to
question
begin.
is-
Let's be clear. The civil nuclear deal is an engagement which is of the last 15 years. If you look at the Talbot talks with Jaswant Singh, then go back to Manmohan Singh, who really staked the future of his government.
Absolutely.
Do you give credit today to them? Do you believe that they deserve? Should Narendra Modi and Barack Obama remember Manmohan Singh fondly? Someone whom we don't remember often too fondly in these days. Would you remember him fondly?
No, the BJP remembers Manmohan Singh. The BJP also remembers Narasimha Rao. The problem is with the Congress party. They don't want to remember these two former.
That's an interesting point.
The former, in quote unquote, the former two BJP prime ministers. They
So you-
only want to remember the last Congress Prime Minister of India.
In fact,
according
interestingly,
to their words.
Salman Khurshid was saying that Sonia Gandhi should be given the credit. And he also,
Fine.
of course, mentioned
the
Manmohan Singh.
question is who gets the credit and all. The
Yes.
question is, I think the Indo-US relationship has really come to a very an important stage.
Yes.
Consider it from this point of view. It was the same Mr. Barack Obama who some time back said that China should be leading the Asian economic miracle, and China is the natural leader of Asia.
Yes.
Whereas now, he has not spoken about a word about China or Pakistan. It's India, and all India for him.
Okay, so you're seeing a change in a sense. Ajay, am I right in saying that this is a continuum? I forget the credit for a moment. Is this something that over 10, 20 years has been building to this moment?
Rajdeep, if we did not have this rancorous polarization in our most important dealings, the Indo 123 agreement would have been signed with a full parliamentary majority without any of the jhanjat that you saw going on. This current civil nuclear agreement would not have been hamstrung by this by the sort of nuclear liability law. We make things difficult for ourselves because we still have not understood that on matters of dire national security, the two ends of the poles have to come together and work in the national interest and not in narrow political
It's
interest.
interesting, the only party which has already expressed serious reservation is the left. But look at where in 2005, when Dr. Singh signed the agreement, the left was virtually in a position to control the reins of power, almost bring down the government. Today they can't. Today they can perhaps raise some questions over the fine print of the agreement. But is it simply Indian democracy, messy as it is?
Rather,
that makes
the left at least had a consistent objection to the thing all through, which
Yes.
it maintains to this date. The Congress and the BJP have played, switch sides based on their...
That's an interesting point, because when the BJP was in the opposition, I remember in 2008, you had a very different view of the same civil nuclear deal that today Prime Minister Modi has gone ahead and taken as legitimately so as an achievement. Would you agree with that or not?
No, I mean, it's not the question of distancing oneself from all these things, but what is more important is there were certain conditionalities with the BJP thought, because the initial drafts which were made, the two drafts which were made originally in 2003 and 2004 were discussed threadbare, and then BJP expressed certain reservations.
Why not concede, sir, today? That
Yes,
this was,
no,
that
no.
politics,
In spite of that,
this moment could have been achieved 6 or 7 years ago. Politics delayed this moment.
I don't think so.
You don't agree?
I mean, I don't. No, it's not the question of what would have happened.
Okay.
But I think this passage of time was also essential, and a strong political dispensation in Delhi was also very much essential for the.
That's a good point. Is it important because we today have a majority government? I think it's a point that the President of India has also made today in his speech, that we have a majority government after 25 years, coalition-free government. Makes it easier to take decisions, Samir?
No, I think that is perhaps not accurate, because when Manmohan Singh showed great leadership and he actually got this deal done, he did not have a majority government. I think he showed decisiveness, and he was willing to take on the forces within and outside his party, and he was willing to stake his neck. I think somewhere down the line, that ability was lost.
So
This government
decisiveness
again,
is equally important.
correct. This government again, now Prime Minister Modi can perhaps can show the same decisiveness and take this to its logical operationalization.
You know, let's
We
be clear.
lost
Yes.
a lot of time.
You lost a lot of time.
We lost a lot of crucial time. So I disagree, with due respect, with Mr. Chari. I don't think we need have lost this time. We could have been
Go ahead.
where we are today
Yes.
about 5 years ago, and we could have.
But there were, but let's be also look at it from an Indian perspective. There were genuine concerns, which still exist, many believe, on whether US companies are willing to take the kind of liability that they should. I mean, these are legitimate. You know, India is not a banana republic. There will be those in India who will express concern, and I think the Americans have recognized that.
In fact, it is the US president who doesn't enjoy the kind of political strength in his own Congress
No, I
and
take that,
Senate as much
but
as
let
we
me
have.
pursue this point. That, you know, while we say that this could have happened much earlier, the fact is that India is not a banana republic.
I
We
think-
are a sovereign state where there will be different political actors who will have different concerns on issues as contentious as nuclear liability.
Well, Rajdeep, I'll just tell you, like 7-8 years ago, when we, as the diaspora, the Indian Americans, were working so hard, and we worked very hard on this nuclear deal. And our challenge was, when we'd come in, Prime Minister Singh said, why don't you go and talk to the BJP to convince them, and go and talk to the communists. The communists wouldn't talk to us, and the BJP, we were, obviously, they had some serious objections. And now, obviously, we are working to make sure that things kind of go swimmingly. So the world
Many
has
believe
come...
those were not objections. Many believe it was pure politics. The BJP thought they could corner the government on the issue. It's as simple as that. And then when they lost that election in 2009, I think they suddenly woke up that the Indian middle class did not appreciate the fact that the BJP was opposing something which was seen broadly, in broad terms, in the national interest.
We are criticizing the BJP now for not supporting the Congress, but remember that when Manmohan Singh took forward the thing at that stage, he was unwilling to give credit to the BJP, to the Vajpayee
That's
government,
exactly it.
for their next steps in security partnership initiative.
You know, given that, how important do you feel is the fact that, as I said, Narendra Modi has a majority government. What we've seen today is a prime minister right through the day, and indeed ever since he took over the prime ministership on 17th of May 2014, whether it was inviting SAARC leaders to his swearing in, whether it's the initiatives he's made in the subcontinent, reaching out to China, do you get a sense that this is a prime minister who's surprising us all on foreign policy? You know, many thought that Narendra Modi, Chief Minister of Gujarat, will he be able to handle the big foreign policy questions? He's shown a certain element of deftness. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he is showing the fact that he enjoys a popular mandate, and he is willing to assert on foreign policy. He is willing to play the Chinese in a certain way. He is willing to cozy up to the Americans in most ways. And he is certainly enjoying the mandate he's got.
Let's talk about this America-China equation for a moment. You know, there was Mr. Chari's. I think that when the Prime Minister looks at the US or this relationship, is it about containing China? Has this been, the Chinese have not yet given a formal statement to the joint statement that the two countries have released at the moment, but India and America in this joint statement are talking about greater cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region. They're talking about regional security. Do you get a sense that this is partly directed at China, what we've seen today?
It's not about containing. I don't think containment would be the right word, but it is to ensure that the rise of China is not a threat to other countries in Asia, because China has shown certain patterns of behavior that have made other countries nervous. So to contain China, I don't think anybody has even the power yet.
No, but it's all happened at a time. There have been concerns, legitimate concerns, Ajay, that China is engaging in expansionism. Chinese nationalism is rearing its head as the Communist Party finds itself strained at home. There's a sense that maybe on growth also, for the first time, there are troubling signs for the Chinese. A lot of what we are seeing, those images, this new chemistry between India and the US. Yes, there's a continuum, but is it also in a particular context at the moment?
There is to say that this is not directed against China is to display credulity of the highest order. Starting from Obama's rebalance to the Pacific speech, where India was the only country that was named.
Yes.
We can keep making political statements, and we will, that this is not directed against China. But when the President of the United States comes to India for his second visit and reviews a military parade on Rajpath, the signal that is going out is an unambiguous one, and China will listen to the words and it will listen to the symbolism, and it knows what's lessons to draw.
He has also come up with this new term for the relationship, declaration of friendship.
Yes.
So clearly he's saying that we are taking it to the next level.
Yes.
So what does he say within that declaration? He says that we are going to have a hotline between the two leaders. We are going to have a hotline between our two security advisors. And clearly there is a huge dose of security and strategy within the framework that they are inducing. Now, I am not saying for a minute that the current Prime Minister sees or is going to lose out on the opportunity China presents to India. I think China is going to be a very credible partner in the economic story. And I think this Prime Minister is a pragmatist. He is going to...
So one of his challenges to do this balancing act. You've got the Chinese on the one side, you've got the Americans on the other. Narendra Modi is conscious of the fact that at a time when America didn't give him a visa for a decade, the Chinese were already embracing him as Gujarat Chief Minister.
I have always claimed this Prime Minister speaks Mandarin. He can do to China what China did to many people. They grew a $500 billion trade with the US and they confronted them in the Western Pacific. They had a $300 billion trade with Japan, yet they have the deepest historical animosities.
Let me take a break on this point. My producer is insisting I take a few breaks since we've had long speeches right through the day. I'll come back to this. A commercial imperative. Just like the Prime Minister, I have to be pragmatic about these issues as well. As we head into the break, I'm going to play one of the stars of the day. Pooja Thakur is the lady who today, in a sense, broke a glass ceiling. She became the first lady officer to conduct a Tri-Services Guard of Honor at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Let's listen in to her as she spoke to our correspondent Gaurav Sawant about what this moment meant for her and really meant for, many would say, women officers around the country. Listen in to her. We're going to come back with plenty more. We're also going to go straight to Rashtrapati Bhavan, where the presidential banquet is taking place. And Karan Thapar is reminding me on my SMS, why is the US president not wearing a black tie, he says, to the banquet. We'll try and find out that and more when we return.
Talks about the US President Barack Obama's historic India visit. There is one glass ceiling that was shattered today, and with me is Wing Commander Pooja Thakur, the Tri-Services Guard of Honor you presented to President Barack Obama. You were the Guard Commander. What was that like?
Oh, being the Guard Commander for an Inter-Services Guard of Honor, and that too for Mr. Barack Obama, I'm sure it was a very proud moment for the Indian Air Force and for myself also.
What was the training like? How were you chosen for this? You being chosen for this, and what was the training like?
The training as such, actually, when you say training, I think it becomes a bit level of induction, wherein we all are ingrained with the, with marching and with ceremonials and parade and physical fitness and things like that. But yes, when events like these are announced, then you have specific training for them for a few days.
Okay. You were the Guard Commander. You walked up to the US President. Tell us, what did you tell him?
Well, when I walk up to the US President, the first thing you got to do is present the Rashtriya Salute. So you give him the Inter-Services Rashtriya Salute. That's what you present, the very first thing when he comes.
Antar Sena Guard, Command Garad is what it's called. There is a difference. Usually when we see others, there is a sword in their hand. You didn't have one. Is there a
It depends on your ceremonial attire. Of course, in the Indian Air Force, we are carrying the revolver as a guard. So we have the revolvers with us as the guard, and the Navy and the Army are the ones carrying the sword.
Okay.